which is better, normal or vaginal delivery or cesarean. Being a teenager per se does not point towards any particular manner of delivery.
In contraception safe to teenagers?
The teenager has to remember that every action has a corresponding consequence. No? And being sexually active at an early age, particularly during teenage years, has a very, very, very high risk of leading to unplanned pregnancy and contraction of sexually transmitted infections, including HIV and AIDS. So the safest and most effective way to prevent unplanned pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections is sexual abstinence, or to stay away from sexual activities while still young. It is most ideal to engage in sex only in the context of marriage, basically to your wife or your husband. However, if in case a teenager is already sexually active, it is always best to be protected. Many types of contraception are safe for any individual, and these prevent pregnancy. But it is only the condom which gives protection both from pregnancy and the infection. Now, in the case of a teenager who is already a mother, healthcare professionals advocate the use of long-acting reversible contraceptives, such as contraceptive implants, to ensure that the second or subsequent pregnancy will not occur in the near future and can be delayed up until such time that the individual is already ready for a second or subsequent child. To give a short answer to your question, yes, contraceptives are safe. Generally, they are safe and are actually protective of the individual's health. He or she just has to consult the doctor to determine which type is best. In the meantime, I need to give the reminder that primary abstinence, or staying away from sexual activities, especially during teenage years when you're still young, is the safest and most effective way of preventing pregnancy and infection.
Okay. Can you still get pregnant even if you use a condom?
Yes, condoms do not give 100% protection.
Can you give some advice for those people who experience early teens pregnancy?
Okay. For those who experienced early pregnancy or at a very early age became parents, became a mother, what I have to remind you is to take care both of the baby and of yourself. Don't forget about yourself. Once possible, make sure that you go back to school and continue your education. Being a teenage mom should not hinder you from still living your dreams, and reaching your goals, and aspirations in life. However, you have to be reminded that it's going to be extra challenging because you have a child in tow, a child which you should be able to raise well together with your partner and the rest of family. So also, all efforts must be exerted to ensure that a subsequent or second pregnancy will not happen in the near future, and this should only happen when you already are financially, emotionally, physically capable of having another child.
Many experts want to pursue sex education subject in each school. As a teacher, do you agree of having sex education subject in your class? Why?
Well, basically, I am teaching English subjects. Though I am in favor of incorporating sex education in the curriculum of the students, I think it is most applicable towards the health subject rather than the English subject. But overall, I agree to have such incorporation in the curriculum because I believe that the youth of today are very exposed when it comes to the technology. And being innovative, modernized, is having a little bit downtime when it comes to the perception or understanding when it comes to sex education. I think sex education is very important so that they can learn their boundaries, their limitation when it comes to any sexual desires that they have. And of course, the discourse about family planning will also be tackled in there. Okay? So
How can you say that early teenage pregnancy and premarital sex are related?
well, scientifically stating, premarital sex and teenage pregnancies are interconnected with one another because you do the intercourse, diba? And then you create a baby by that. So if you are trying to incorporate that, for me to say that if I agree towards sex education, I actually agree already. No, I don't think we have to undergo specifics on how a baby is being made because you can actually check it or read in scientific details about it. But if you are trying to relate teenage pregnancy in sex education, they are interconnected with one another because in sex education, the main purpose will be about educating the students not to explore in a very young age, or if you are really into that kind of act, then you must know that there are some sorts of protections that you can use to avoid unexpected pregnancies or other diseases that actually pertains or in connection with any sexual intercourse.
If this have a side effect of taking contraceptive pills,
well, if you are asking me about that, I think that is a question that can be very much answered towards reading scientific journals and researches about it. But my whole perspective or takeaway when it comes to that is that everything actually has a side effect. No? It is always a two-way. There is an advantage, disadvantage, the good and the bad. But if we are going to be limited on the bad aspect of one thing or one discourse or one issue, then we cannot see the whole perspective, the macro perspectives to it. We're just going to be limited on the fear of using the contraceptions or contraceptives in a specific manner. So again, it is a part of family planning that is being discussed when it comes to sex education, and they can really explain or express the advantages as well as the disadvantages. Because if you are going to ask me about contraception, teenage pregnancy also carries a lot of risk, great risk. No, the mother can die giving birth, so there is much consequences or bad ideologies that pertains or in between the topic of teenage pregnancy already. So I don't think the analogy between the teenage pregnancy and the contraceptives are really valid because they are both containing a bad side and a good side.
what do you think the bad effect on the child that the cause of early teenage pregnancy?
Well, I cannot explain it in scientific terms. So if you would like to explore that kind of question, you better ask your science or your health teacher. But what I can say in a generic perspective is that based on the studies, having or bearing a baby in a very young age carries a lot of risk, not only to the mother, but also to the child itself.
Okay,
But the technicalities, you may ask your other teachers about it.
what's your advice to the teenager who experience early teenager pregnancy?
I think it is better to be educated, and it is okay to explore things, but do know that there are consequences with the actions that you will do. So keep that in mind, and you can afford the baby if you want to, because society cannot tell you that's your body, and they cannot tell you about like the life of the baby, because the life of the baby will still be your choice, and it will also affect your life.
Okay. As a teenager, do you agree of having sex education subject in your class? Why?
Yes, definitely, because sex education is not about teaching sex. It is about educating people whether to do it or not. Or sex education educates us about what sex might do to our lives, and what the outcome might be if we are not educated. A lot of teenagers are not educated about sex. That's why they are so confused and wanted to explore our bodies without educated, and that's the reason why they are getting pregnant.
What are the proper way to avoid sex?
There are no proper ways to avoid sex, because it is human nature to feel something ecstatic. So I think there's a way to avoid getting pregnant. So there are a lot of contraceptives given by the government and a lot of non-government organizations. There are a lot of condoms over the counter. So there are a lot of ways to avoid getting pregnant, because getting pregnant is so hard, and the responsibility that you may face when you will have a baby.
Is it contraceptive feels safe to the teenager like us?
Could you repeat that?
Is it contraceptive feels safe to use like teenager to the teenager like us?
Yeah, they are definitely safe. Just make sure to do a research about a certain brand of the contraceptive, because honestly, there are pills that has side effects to our body. So it is better to do a research and know better about the pill, or else it will affect your body severely, especially our hormones.
I know many people are so familiar with this topic because early teenage pregnancy are the one main issue here in the Philippines. Okay. What things come to your mind when you hear early teenage pregnancy? Elaborate it.
For me, teenage pregnancy was caused by children who lack knowledge and awareness about this certain topic. Maybe because their parents, or rather than their teachers, give them lack of guidance for them to know this certain topic. Rather than that, maybe they should be aware for what is the effect of this topic.
Many experts want to pursue sex education. As a student, do you agree with them having sex education subject?
For me, yes.
Why?
Because sex education comes with great responsibility, as it's always said to us students. But this sex education will make us aware, will make us knowledgeable for us how to avoid, for us to know the effect of for us to avoid this teenage pregnancy.
Many people say that early teenage pregnancy happen because of the bad influence friends. How do you avoid them?
For me, instead of avoiding them, give them a second chance. Because avoiding them will cause nothing, because it will still, they will still do it. For me, maybe we should make them aware, make them knowledgeable for this topic, for them to know what's best, what's good for them, and for them to avoid doing such things in such early
All
age.
people feel discriminate, especially if they involved on early teenage pregnancy. Somebody think that they just want the attention of the boys. They flirting different guys. But who knows the reason? What if they just a victim? What if they don't want it? So the question is, what if you are a rape victim? That's why you get pregnant early. What will you do to your child? Will you abort it or tell to your parents? Explain it.
If I'm a rape victim, I'll tell it to my parents, of course, so that we can plan on what to do to my baby and get justice from what the criminal did to me. I'm not going to abort my child because I believe that abortion is not the solution for everything, and it's not the child's fault that he or she is the fruit of what his or her father did to me. That's all.
Okay. All people having a sex intercourse after their wedding. But according to my research, they having sex intercourse before the wedding, which is called premarital sex. In your own idea or opinion, how early teenage pregnancy and premarital sex was related?
Premarital sex and teenage pregnancy are somewhat similar because they are both having intercourse before getting married and has a high possibility of getting pregnant before marriage. The difference is that premarital sex is voluntary sexual intercourse, while teenage pregnancy can be involuntary and can be experienced through rape or getting forced by other people.